G'day Dosto! Welcome to Desified Dish! My name is Reiko. So, did you know that there are more kangaroos than people in Australia? It's true. There is actually 1.36 kangaroos for every person. So, did you also know that you can actually eat kangaroo? It's incredibly lean and really high in iron, so it's very nutritious. So anyway, I thought I'd take a break from riding my kangaroo down the servo and make you all a delicious curry. So in this, I'm going to be combining kangaroo steaks, which you can get at the local supermarket, with some native bush spices, and put this all together in a very Desi inspired gravy. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful fusion of flavors. Now, I've only eaten kangaroo one other time in my life, so I'm really excited to put this together. So, chalo, let's cue the music and make some curry. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is prep our marinade, and we want to do this at least 2 hours before we're ready to eat, but I'm going to do this overnight. So I'm going to start with 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm just going to remove the ends. Then we'll peel off the skin. We'll put our naked cloves aside and move on to the ginger. 3 to 4 centimeters here, and I'm going to use a peeler to remove the skin. Now I'm going to take my grinding plate, and with my chunk of ginger, I'm going to grind it into a paste. Then I'm going to take my naked garlic cloves, put them in my crusher, and crush them into a paste. The garlic can make friends on the plate with the ginger. Now I'm going to get out a large bowl to marinate our steaks in. To this I'm going to start by adding 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of mustard oil, half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and half a teaspoon of lemon myrtle powder. This is an Australian bush ingredient. Then in goes our ginger garlic paste. Then using my tiny whisk, I'll combine this all together until homogeneous. Then in goes the actual meat that we're marinating. In this case, 400 grams of kangaroo steaks. We need to cut them, just plop them in as they are. Make sure to give them a good pat so they know to behave. Then using a spoon, I'm going to move the steaks around to make sure they get all nicely coated with the marinade. Once it's all looking nice and comfortable, go ahead and pop on some Glad wrap to seal in the flavors. Marinate for at least 2 hours. Alright, it's now the next day. The kangaroo steaks have been marinating behind me in the fridge there, so they're going to be nice and flavorful. Time to put on the apron and get to work. So let's start with an onion. Yeah, we're starting with onions again. So in this case, we're going to be blending the onion into a gravy, so we don't need to finely chop it, just slices will be enough. But I got a little bit carried away and finely chopped it anyway, but yeah, just slices is fine. And that's all our prep work done, so cello, on to the cooking! So our first step in making the onion gravy is to cook all the ingredients. This is going to bring out the flavors. For this I'm using my new saute pan and my classic heirloom spoon with all the burn marks. So let's strike a light and set the heat to medium. We'll start by pouring in 1 tablespoon of oil. I'm using canola. Once the oil is hot, add 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds. We want to saute these for about 20 seconds until they're aromatic. Now we'll throw in the rest of our whole spices, 1 black cardamom pod and 8 pepper berries, another Australian ingredient. These have a slightly sweet, more delicate peppery aroma than traditional peppercorns. Then we'll toss in our onion. We want to cook this for about 5 to 6 minutes or until translucent. Lastly, we'll add 10 unsalted cashews. This is not for flavour, but more to thicken the gravy. Cook these until they get slightly browned, about 3 to 4 minutes or so. I'll now bring the pan over to the bench to cool down for about 5 minutes or so before we blend it. Now that the mixture is cooled down enough, I'm going to carefully add it into my blender. From there you probably guessed what happens next. Blend it until you get a chunky paste. If I can interrupt the gravy for 1 moment. Thank you. We're now going to move on to getting our kangaroo steaks prepared. So for this I'm using a cast iron enameled pan. Don't use non-stick here as we're going to need high temperatures and that would definitely damage the pan. So we want to set the heat to medium high and add a small amount of oil. Once the pan is very hot, get a pair of tongs and let's start adding those steaks in. I'm cooking these medium rare, which should take about 5 minutes each side. We've got a bit of a decent sear on that, so let's flip them over in another 5 minutes. Oh, that second side looks even better than the first. I reckon this is done. So let's get them out of the hot pan and onto a plate. And we want to leave these for 10 minutes to rest because they'll still continue cooking on the inside. And now back to the gravy. So I've got my trusty saute pan here and I'm going to add half a tablespoon of oil and set the heat to medium. Once the pan is warmed up, add 2 tablespoons of butter. Once the butter is fully melted, we're going to go ahead and add in our paste. Once you manage to get it all in there, go ahead and start to mix it all together. Now in goes our ground spices. Half a teaspoon of coriander powder, half a teaspoon of cumin powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garam masala, half a teaspoon of red chili powder, half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and half a teaspoon of salt. Give everything a good mix and toast the spices for about 30 seconds. Now that it's darkened beautifully in colour, let's go ahead and add some water to thin down the gravy. This is about half a cup. It's a strange colour because it's been blended with the leftovers from the processor. As always, give it all a real good mix. Feel free to add more water as required to thin down the gravy to your desired consistency. I highly recommend thinning it down a lot if you're going to use the damper that I make for this. That's looking pretty good, so let's turn it down to a simmer, add the lid, and let's get back to the steak. Now that the steak has had a good rest, let's take it off the plate and transfer it to a cutting board where we're going to cut it into 3cm cubes. Oh, that came out perfectly. Look how pink and juicy it is in the middle. I can't wait to eat this. Continue cutting until all the steak pieces are cut. And now back to our simmering gravy. To finish it off, I'm going to add half a teaspoon of lemon myrtle powder. This has a lovely, delicate citrusy flavour. Now it's time to introduce our steak to our gravy. Nice to meet you. Give it a real good mix so the meat is well covered in that delicious gravy. And we want to simmer this for about 3 more minutes just to heat it up and have it ready to serve. To finish things off, I'm going to add 5 to 6 stalks of coriander which have been roughly chopped and then give this a good mix. And with that, our kangaroo curry is done, so let's go ahead and plate this beauty up. Give yourself a nice generous helping and make sure you grab some of that beautiful gravy as well. Before we get to the final presentation, I did just want to take a moment to point out the earrings that I'm wearing today. These are Dancing Daffodils by Oh So Pretty. These are made right here in Melbourne by Kylie, and I was just amazed at the beautiful packaging they came in and the absolute quality of the earrings. Now this is not sponsored either, but I love to support small businesses, especially when they make earrings as good as this. She also sent these cute little freebie studs. Anyway, if you like what you see and you want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description. Alright, and now back to the plating. So to top things off, I'm just going to sprinkle on a few more coriander leaves. And this delicious curry is ready to serve. Alright, we're back and the cooking is done. So I present to you Kangaroo Kurry. Oh, and it's got a wonderful smell. All of those spices, and I can smell the meat. It has a very nice, slightly charred smell. And the steak cooked perfectly as you saw, so oh, I can't wait to dig into this one. So let's go ahead and give it a try, shall we? Oh, and it's so soft as well, and it was perfectly cooked in the middle. Oh, so beautiful and tender. And the flavor is amazing. Especially the lemon myrtle that I added right towards the end gives it that really nice citrusy flavor that's not quite the same as adding lemon juice. This turned out amazing. And by the way, I also made bread with this one, and there'll be a separate recipe for it. So I've made a Desi damper, and soon you'll see a new video for it. So I'm just going to dip that in the gravy as well and give that a try, because these were designed to work together. Oh, that is such a perfect mix. This is one I'm definitely going to be making again. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you want to catch what dish I get up to next time, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, Dosto, and Fi Malenge. I'll catch you in the next one.